Imagine meeting someone who actually does what they say. They text back in a reasonable time. They don't start drama for sport. They're consistent. But instead of feeling relieved, you feel a strange, nagging sense of boredom. You find yourself missing the spark, the intensity, the roller coaster, the high-stakes emotional gymnastics of your past friendships. What if that spark isn't chemistry, but actually a warning signal from your nervous system? Think of the most stable person you know. Now, be honest. Do they feel a bit bland compared to your most exciting, but toxic friend? Hold that contrast in your mind. Please note, this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional therapy. Today, we're exploring the stability paradox. We'll look at why your brain mistakes peace for boredom, and why your dopamine receptors are literally addicted to relational chaos. I'm going to show you how to recalibrate your internal excitement meter so you can stop sabotaging healthy connections and start valuing the peace you've worked so hard to build. If you've ever felt bored by a good person, you're not alone and you're not broken. Hit subscribe to join a community of people upgrading their social blueprints. Stick around until the end, because I'm sharing a peace versus boredom audit to help you tell the difference in real time. Let's start with the stability paradox. For many of us, the word stable sounds like a compliment, but the feeling of stability can actually feel like a void. When you've spent years in high-conflict friendships, your brain gets used to a specific chemical cocktail. You're not just dealing with people, you're dealing with a dopamine loop. See, dopamine isn't actually about pleasure. It is about anticipation. It is the maybe that keeps you hooked. Maybe they'll text back. Maybe they'll apologize. Maybe this time they'll actually be there for me. This is what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. It is the same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. If you won every time, it would get boring. But because you only win sometimes, the win feels 1,000 times more intense. In a toxic friendship, the win is that moment of reconciliation or validation after a period of coldness or conflict. Your brain treats that resolution like a drug. Now, contrast that with a healthy, stable friend. There is no maybe. They're just there. They text back, they show up. The win is constant. And because it is constant, the dopamine spike disappears. To a brain addicted to the roller coaster, this feels like boredom. It feels flat. It feels like the spark is missing. But here is the truth. That spark was actually just anxiety. You weren't feeling chemistry, you were feeling the stress of unpredictability. If this is already making sense, a quick like tells the algorithm to show this to someone else who is struggling to a healthy friendship. But why is our brain wired to prefer the chaos in the first place? It comes down to the blueprint. Most of us developed our ideas of friendship and love long before we had a choice in the matter. If you grew up in an environment where affection was conditional, or where the people who were supposed to care for you were unpredictable, your nervous system learned to associate unpredictability with connection. To your subconscious mind, a stable person feels foreign. They feel wrong because they don't match the internal map you've been using your whole life. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that handles fear and threats, actually feels safer with a known negative pattern than an unknown positive one. It is a weird glitch, but it is real. You're not attracted to the toxicity, you're attracted to the familiarity. Think about instant chemistry. We've been told by movies and songs that when you meet someone and you just click immediately, it is a sign of a soulmate. But in the world of psychology, instant chemistry is often just two blueprints clicking together. It is the fixer meeting the broken, or the performer meeting the admirer. It is a lock and a key, but the lock is a trauma response. When you meet a healthy person, the click is slower. It is a slow burn. There is no immediate rush of adrenaline because there is no perceived threat or urgent need to be validated. This is where the danger lies. Because you don't feel that immediate rush, you assume there is no connection. You tell yourself they're nice, but I just don't feel a spark. In reality, you're just experiencing the absence of anxiety. This leads us into the excitement addiction. When you're used to the peaks and valleys, the screaming matches followed by the deep, tearful apologies, you develop a tolerance for emotional intensity. Normal, healthy conversation starts to feel like white noise. You might find yourself thinking, "We have nothing to talk about," when in reality, you just have nothing to fight about. The makeup phase of a friendship is an incredibly powerful chemical event. The relief of conflict ending triggers a massive release of oxytocin and dopamine. It creates a bond that feels deeper than a regular friendship because it is forged in crisis. This is why people stay in toxic loops for years. They aren't staying for the fighting. They're staying for the relief that follows the fighting. But that relief is a lie. It is a temporary mask for a fundamental lack of safety. When you move into a stable friendship, you have to go through a detox period. You have to teach your brain that peace is actually more rewarding than intensity. This is the hardest part because, for a while, it really does feel boring. It is like switching from a diet of sugar and caffeine to a diet of steamed vegetables. The vegetables are better for you, but your taste buds are still screaming for the sugar. To recalibrate your reward system, you have to consciously shift your focus from high intensity to high quality. You have to start rewarding yourself for the quiet wins. Instead of celebrating the "I can't believe they actually apologized" moment, you start celebrating the "I didn't have to wonder if they'd show up" moment. Try this. For 1 week, keep a peace log. Every time a friend does something consistent, reliable, or calm, write it down. They called when they said they would. They listened without making it about themselves. They respected my boundary without a guilt trip. At first, this will feel tedious, but over time, you're training your brain to notice and value stability. You're shifting the reward from the spike to the glow. However, there is a dark side to this transition. When you start experiencing true peace, a strange thing happens. You might start creating fake drama. This is the "it is too quiet" syndrome. Your nervous system is so used to being in a state of high alert, hypervigilance, that when the external environment becomes calm, the internal alarm system starts looking for a reason to go off. You might find yourself overanalyzing a text message. Why did they use a period instead of an exclamation point? Are they mad at me? Or you might subconsciously pick a fight over something trivial, just to trigger that familiar cycle of conflict and reconciliation. You're essentially trying to hit the dopamine button because you're uncomfortable with the silence. This is where the fear of the other shoe dropping kicks in. If you've spent your life waiting for the crash, a stable friendship feels like a trap. You're waiting for the moment they turn on you or the moment the mask slips. Because you can't find the red flag, you start imagining one. You might tell yourself, "They're too nice. They must be hiding something." The key here is communication. If you have a healthy friend, tell them. Say, "I'm working through some old patterns where I mistake peace for boredom or anxiety for chemistry. If I seem distant or if I overreact to something small, please know it is my internal alarm system, not you." A truly stable, growth-oriented friend will understand this. There'll be a mirror that helps you see your own patterns. Now we have to address a real question. Is it possible that the person is actually just boring? Yes. Stability isn't the same thing as a lack of personality. There is a huge difference between stable boredom and genuine incompatibility. Stable boredom is when the asterisk relationship dynamics asterisk are calm. But the asterisk connection asterisk is deep. You share values, you have similar goals, you trust each other implicitly, but there is no drama. Genuine incompatibility is when you have nothing in common. You don't enjoy their company, you don't respect their worldview, and you have no shared interests. The values test is the way to tell the difference. Ask yourself, if we stripped away the emotional intensity, would I still respect this person? Do I admire who they are? Do I like the way they treat others? If the answer is yes, but you're still bored, the problem isn't the person, it is your blueprint. If the answer is no, then you're simply not compatible. To bridge the gap, you need to build healthy excitement. This means shifting the source of the spark from interpersonal conflict to shared growth . Instead of getting a rush from a fight, you get a rush from a shared adventure. Take a class together. Go on a road trip to a place neither of you has been. Start a project together. When you engage in third-party stimulation, you create new, positive memories that are associated with that person. You're building a different kind of chemistry, one based on curiosity and exploration rather than anxiety and rescue. Think about the growth-based spark. This is the feeling you get when a friend challenges you to be a better version of yourself. It is the excitement of an intellectual debate where both people are listening. It is the thrill of seeing your friend achieve a goal they've worked hard for. This kind of excitement is sustainable. It doesn't leave you exhausted. It leaves you energized. As you move further into this new way of relating, you'll start to see the long-term payoff of the boring friend. These are the people who become your safety net. In the middle of a life crisis, a job loss, a family death, a health scare, the high-intensity friends often vanish. Why? Because they were only there for the drama or the fix. They are experts at the crisis, but they are terrible at the recovery. The stable friend, however, is the one who stays. They're the ones who bring you groceries when you can't leave the house. They're the ones who listen to you cry for 3 hours without making it about their own trauma. Over time, you realize that the boring consistency they provided was actually the most valuable thing in your life. The absence of chaos becomes the most luxurious thing you own. You'll notice your overall stress levels dropping. Your cortisol, the stress hormone, isn't constantly spiking because you're not always walking on eggshells. Your sleep improves. Your anxiety decreases. You stop spending 4 hours a night analyzing text messages. You realize that the electricity you used to crave was actually just a low-grade fever of stress. So, how do you integrate this into your life today? It starts with a choice. It starts with the bravery to be bored. The next time you feel that urge to distance yourself from a healthy person because they don't excite you, stop. Lean into the boredom. Tell yourself, this isn't boredom, this is peace. And I am learning how to live in it. Start small. Instead of looking for a soulmate friend, look for a reliable friend. Value the person who is consistent over the person who is captivating. Remember that intimacy is built in the quiet moments, the boring Tuesdays, the routine coffee dates, the silent drives home. That is where the real bond is formed. You're not losing the excitement of life, you're just changing the source of it. You're moving from a life of survival to a life of thriving. You're rewriting your blueprint from I am loved when there is chaos to I am safe when there is peace. It takes time and it takes patience, but the reward is a circle of friends who don't just know your wounds, but actually help you heal them. In the end, the most exciting thing about a stable friendship is that it gives you the security to explore the rest of the world. When your home base is secure, you can take bigger risks in your career, your hobbies, and your personal growth. Because you know that no matter what happens, you have a steady hand to hold. That is not boring. That is freedom. Think of that boring but stable friend. What is one thing they've done for you that a high-intensity friend never would have? Share your story in the comments. Let's celebrate the quiet wins. If this video helped you reframe your relationships, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us reach more people who are trying to break these cycles. Next time, we're going to dive into a topic that is equally challenging: the art of the slow fade. We'll talk about how to distance yourself from toxic people without causing an explosion, and how to handle the guilt that comes with protecting your peace. I'll see you in the next one.